This is gonna be an amazing trip report. We're gonna have a lot of fun in this trip report. But we're gonna start with a song that came up during the trip, actually. Yeah, it did come up during the trip. And it goes, it's called There Is So Much Significance Near the Ocean. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in, waves are coming in. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in, waves are coming in. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in, waves are coming in. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in, waves are coming in. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in, waves are coming in, they're coming in. Okay, good. Gotta learn the chords. I just looked them up like a minute ago. But there is so much magnificence near the ocean. Because waves are coming in. Waves are coming in. You know, the ocean it's literally all there is. It's so significant. The magnitude of the analogy of the waves coming in. It's like our life. Our life. That's all there is, and all there is just there's waves coming in. There's waves coming in. We are a wave in the ocean, ultimately. Right? That's also what the mystics talk about. This picture of us as just being a wave in the ocean, rising and falling. But also like there's waves of emotion coming in, waves of sensation coming in. It's just waves coming in and through, circling through us. Yeah, that was a beautiful realization on this LSD journey that I had recently. So I would love to share today the LSD journey that I had. Where should I start? Like, if you have any questions, let me know. But it's basically, I think it was a dream coming true. I'm spending time in Madagascar at the moment, and I was sick, I was busy, I was distracted, and I couldn't really like do an adventure and didn't take a psychedelic here. So I was like, okay, now's the time. Before I leave, when I leave in a week or something like that, I have to have a psychedelic experience here. So I came up with this brilliant idea of taking LSD on an uninhabited island, spending 24 hours on this uninhabited island and having a psychedelic experience there. Because when else, like, am I gonna have the opportunity to do this? Right here, right now, it was possible, and it was a crazy idea, but I did it, and I followed through and made it happen. And it was quite an adventure. Um, to preface this, like, first of all, I filmed most of that thing, most of the adventure. So in like half a year or something, there's going to be a video coming out, video footage. But I just had to share the experience and the trip report while it was fresh. So I want to share it right here, right now with you guys. Mm. Oh. Also, I have to preface with the, just like I don't want to recommend or not recommend such an experience. Yo, Kali, good to see you here again. Always a pleasure to see you. I like, because there is a sense of risk that is involved in doing such an experience, such an adventure. The crazier the adventure, the crazier and the bigger the risk is you take, basically. And like taking 200 micrograms or a bit more of LSD on an uninhabited island where there's no help, there's no mobile data, there's nothing, literally nothing but pure untouched nature, there is a risk involved. So you gotta take responsibility for situations that you find yourself in and see. So I don't recommend or not recommend such an experience, but for me, I like to take risks. I like to risk my life in certain ways with a little bit of like reason and safety. But I find for myself, like, it's always a great story to tell. So, and that's what this trip report is, and this trip in general is now one of my favorite stories in my repertoire of stories and trip reports. Because when else, who else is gonna have such an experience? I guess some guys, but uninhabited island LSD trip, if amazing. Kali's saying, all you have been sober for a while now from psychedelics, right? Yes, I've been sober for like 2 months, maybe, like 1 or 2 months since my mushroom burnout experience. You can look it up in the past live streams. I think that was my last proper psychedelic experience. So I'm going to start the story from the beginning. The beginning was the idea, and then it was just like, okay, making it happen. And I'm not that kind of guy who's planning too much. But, well, there has to be a little bit of planning involved in getting to an uninhabited island and being able to be there and like get dropped off there and be picked up again there. And so it's a bit of like a logistical kind of thing. So packing stuff was also a thing, packing tents and like a mat and sleeping bag and my camera, organizing, seeing how much food I want to have and seeing how much water I want to take. Also, I did not do this experience alone, but I did it with a friend of mine who was coming along. And she's going to play a crucial role in this story because she's quite a unique character. I love her so much. Greeks to you, Molly. And yeah, but we had this like adventure together. So I am in the north of Madagascar at the moment, near Kifi, in a village called Douani. And close by is this island. It's called Noisibi. So, and around Noisibi, there seemed to be like quite a few islands. And we were like, okay, probably the most expensive part is gonna be like getting people, like renting out a boat and getting people to bring us to this island, drop us off there, and then come again to pick us up 24 hours later. And we just like, we didn't really plan. We were like, okay, we looked out for an island, and there was one. It's called Noisy Beer or Noisy Andilana, and it looked like in low tide that you could maybe walk to that island, and then kind of like be stuck there when there's high tide. So we're like, okay, this is like an option. So we just went to Noisy Bee without a plan, went up north, and looked for this island. And it was a kind of like a small island, and it didn't seem like it was possible to walk there. So we're like, okay, not possible to walk there. Could we maybe be dropped off there? And then the people that we met there, um, good that I had Molly, because I'm not speaking French or Malagasy, and those people most are not speaking English. Well, this one guy, he was actually talking a little bit English. So we just met this random guy, and he's like, yeah, I can organize you a boat, but don't go to this island camping, but go to Noisy Funny. It's further out, like it was 1 hour, 1.5 hours maybe, with this like little catamaran boat thing. And we're like, yeah, fantastic, this is even better. Noisy Funny. um, Further out, like completely outside of Noisy Bee and outside of any civilization. And there was a bit more of a beach and a bit more of like nature around. And yeah, so we paid them. We gave them, actually, we didn't have that much money. We gave these guys all our money. It's like 200,000 Ariari or something. It's like $20. And we gave them all our money, this guy, and just in the hope that they're gonna drop us off there, which they did, and then just like hoping that these random people that we just met are gonna pick us up there again. So that's like kind of like one part of this exciting adventure. It's just like getting to that island, and it took like half the day in Malagasy time, like organizing stuff. It just takes a while. So we arrived there quite late. I'd say in the evening, kind of like at 3 p.m. maybe, or 4 p.m. Maybe around 3 or 4. We arrived at this island. They dropped us off, and we're there alone. Lots of beautiful like coral reefs around, lots of birds, lots of um, lots of crabs around. Beautiful like mixture of beach and rock and jungle, and also the perfect size kind of an island. You could probably like walk around this island in like 10 or 20 minutes. Um, but there were rocks, and there was like a jungle in between, and it was small, but it was not too small. There was a lots to explore, and lots to I don't know, adventure out and see. And it was not too small to be stuck on there, but also not too big that we couldn't like find our way. So it was great. Kali's saying you should have gave them half the money before, half after all. Yeah, they didn't. We considered that, and we were like, we're gonna give you half, but they were like, no, give us all, otherwise we're not taking you. So we're like, okay, yeah, I'm trusting these random people. But they seemed pretty chill. They're smoking like a spliff on the way there. Yeah. So immediately we pitched our tent in the jungle, because we couldn't calculate like how much the water is coming, how much the water is going. So in the jungle, pitched the tent, and yeah, started the LSD journey. We not a name is saying you're still in Madagascar. Yes, I'm still in Madagascar. I'm gonna be leaving back to Europe soon, in a week. Right now, I'm still in Madagascar. So we took each, because we're like, okay, if we're gonna have an experience, we're gonna have a proper experience. So we took 2 tubs each. That's around like 200, a bit more of 200 micrograms of LSD. Really good LSD. Really like some of my favorite batch. And we just started the journey. Took the tabs, did like a little ceremony, and went in each with 200 micrograms of LSD. It was coming on quite strong and fast. And stay tuned, because there's going to be like a dangerous part like coming very, very soon. But the come up was very nice. What was the intention, if you don't mind? Well, my intention actually, it was to reflect a little bit on my time in Madagascar, on Madagascar itself. Um, there is just like the jumping into the unknown, being present with this experience, exploring the island, just checking in with myself, but basically it was just like this jumping into this unknown, crazy, adventurous experience. And for my friend, it was more also lots about reflecting on life and relationships and values, and yeah, so that were kind of our intentions. But really, there was no clear purpose or intention. The purpose and intention was to take LSD on an uninhabited island alone. So that was the intention. Unknown Nine is asking, maybe yeah, um, are there breathing techniques that I can use in very stressful situations? Yes, there are breathing techniques to calm down, which is actually one I used throughout this LSD journey, especially in the more dangerous kind of situations that were coming up. It's basically slow breathing. In like very stressful situations, you can try to slow your breath down as much as possible. So take as little inhales and exhales as possible in a minute. Like do a very 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 slow in breath. Maybe like count to 10, if you can, to 20 or 30, right? 30 seconds in breath, and then 20 or 30 seconds out breath. So there's one, and there's several different ones of like I think the 4 to 4. You can breathe in 4 seconds and breathe out 4 seconds, and like keep that rhythm. It's also like a slow movement of the breath. But usually, like, just breath awareness is gonna be sufficient in stressful situations. Just be aware of the breath. Maybe also of the natural rhythm of the breath can also help. Um, and then proper breath work where you go in fast, you basically hyperventilate for a bit to then be in a relaxed state, but in a very energized state afterwards. So the come up of this LSD experience, hope that helps, was in the ocean. It was my first, I think it was my first psychedelic experience where I was coming up in the ocean. So I was in the water and I was just like floating, had my ears underwater with this supreme sacred silence, just looking up into the clouds, into the sky, and like being so held, being so immersed in the water. In this LSD come up experience was very beautiful. Like, never experienced come up in the water, immersed in the ocean, with the waves coming in, with the fish around me, and that in and of itself was very, very, very beautiful. Ali's asking how the tennis is going with the silence. I was hearing it. I think especially in psychedelic journey, it goes higher, but in silence underwater, for example, I was hearing the tinnitus. Otherwise, right here in Madagascar, I'm not hearing it that much because there's so much wind and like bugs, and the ocean is very near, so I'm not aware of the tinnitus most of the time here. But in pure silence, I can still recognize it. Um, so then, the interesting part of the journey, I think, peak of the journey is fascinating part of the story. So sun was going down very fast at like 5 or 6ish. There's gonna be sunset, and usually I have a little backpack, not this one, but I have a little bag, which I always carry with me, and there's like, it's part of me. This backpack is part of me, and I, at festivals and at adventures and hikes and everywhere I go, I always have this tiny backpack in which I carry all my essentials. All my essentials are changa, rapé, water, a flashlight, a lighter, maybe like a piece of paper and a pen, That's basically it. I don't have much like essentials, but these are kind of like my essentials that I carry everywhere. Everywhere I carry them. And so we had that brilliant idea to go up this mountain. There was like a little like rock, maybe like 20 meters high, 10, 20, 30 meters high, maybe like 20 to 30 meters. So it's quite a climb, and it was like there was no path. It was an uninhabited island, no people there. So we had to find our path through the jungle and climb rocks up that rock. And I was like, okay, let's do this. And there's gonna be like a wonderful like view that we're gonna have onto the sunset. But I was aware, like I didn't bring my flashlight. I did not bring my light, and I was like, should I bring it? But in the LSD experience, then I got like I got sloppy. I got swapped away. I or I just told myself like, okay, we're gonna be fine. Like we're gonna be up and down, and then I can get my light. Uh, and that's that. Don't you get anxious carrying changa DMT everywhere since it's illegal in Madagascar? No. Um, the police here is very funny. Um, I don't know. I haven't been checked. Um, and with changa, usually I don't get anxious. It looks like tea. It looks like it's nothing illegal. Um, so yeah. So we went up and kind of like had a wonderful time up that rock. There was such a significant view of the ocean. It was very high up, and we were on this tree, and there was such a wonderful view. And it was hard to even grasp what I was experiencing or feeling in that moment. It was not very pleasant, but it was also not very uncomfortable. There was like a thrill to it, a feeling of aliveness, a feeling of freedom, but also a little bit of like a feeling of concern. Something in me was concerned about something, and I didn't know what it was, but there was then this process of ever deepening surrender, of opening up to that moment, of just like realizing the significance and the beauty and the craziness of this moment. I'm up this mountain, up this rock, on LSD, on an uninhabited island. There's literally no human being on this island. This island, it was so peaceful as well. So peaceful. No drilling, no sounds of people working, no sounds of people playing music, nothing. Not a road, nothing. Literally nothing but pure, just the purity of the sounds of nature and of the wind and everything. It was so beautiful. It was very profound. And then just like peeking and looking into the ocean and having this beautiful view was very beautiful, very significant experience. Um, but I got then after a time I got a little bit concerned. I was like, okay, let's make our way down. I felt the pull down. I was like, let's make our way down in order to get down before it gets dark. Um, and my friend was like, okay, but also we're gonna have like nighttime vision, and when it gets dark, we'll be able to see and find our way down. She was very optimistic in saying that. I was like, okay. And then I was like, even though I had this like nudge or this intuition, I was like, okay, it's very beautiful here, and we can stay up here. And so we stayed up that rock and that mountain for a little bit longer. And the sun was going down, and the beautiful sky. We saw some colors and had some talks, and we're just taking in our journey. But then, well, it got darker and darker and darker, and it got more dark and more dark and more dark and more dark. And then we're looking down, and there was just like pure jungle. Like we had to climb over like trees and like the rocks that were loose, and it was very steep, very very steep. And we looked down there, and there was just pure darkness, pure darkness. And I had a camera in my hand as well. I climbed up with the camera in my hand, like a huge fucking ass camera. And where I can show you, it's like that whole thing. That whole thing. I had this in my hands, and it's like it's heavy. And I didn't want to break any of this, but I had this camera with me because I was trying to capture some of the experience to share it with you guys and upload a live trip video soon of that whole adventure. Stay tuned for that. That's going to be coming out in like a couple weeks or a month. So I don't know. We started our descent, our journey down, and my friend Molly, she was leading the way, and I was trying to follow. But we quickly realized that this descent, this journey down, was gonna be way, 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 way more difficult than we expected it to be. And all blame on me because I did not bring a flashlight. And I had a lighter somewhere, I knew, but I couldn't find it when we were up there. So we were just trying without a lighter. But yeah, it was quite significant because of like the realization of this darkness, and the realization that we did not bring a light was bringing us peaking on LSD into a pretty serious situation. It felt like a pretty like serious situation, maybe like also a little bit dangerous, because literally I did not have two arms to climb, and like trying to make our way and like kind of like just like find the way down, which was almost impossible, and completely losing touch with orientation as well, of where we came up from, because it was so dark. So that was a thrill, that was thrilling for sure. But that was that was not the peak. um, it got even more. It got really funny. Well, not funny, but now in retrospect, like the story got even more crazy, because on our way down, when we were still up, Molly, she smoked her pipe. She smoked some mapacho with her pipe, and then she kind of like on the way down, she just had the pipe in her mouth and was climbing down, and we made a little bit of that way down, and then the pipe fell out of her mouth into the darkness. And this pipe is very very significant, and it's very funny because Molly has like a pattern in her life of losing things, and I was aware of this, but it was funny that it came up in this LSD experience. So she lost her pipe in this moment, in this experience, and for her it was clear that she's gonna not let this pipe go. Like she's not gonna leave this island, and ideally not gonna leave this place, and not gonna continue on downwards without her pipe. So, but we did not have light, right? So we had to search for the pipe, and she was trying to search it, and she was like getting rid of her clothing and like trying to like half climb down, and it looked pretty like serious. Like I was concerned about her safety while doing these like crazy climbs searching for her pipe. And she couldn't find it, and she couldn't find it, and it like perpetuated this cycle of like I don't exactly remember what was happening, but like yeah, it was kind of like this unfolding of her realization of her pattern of like losing things, losing things that are important to her, and then yeah, that kind of like it brought up pretty significant emotions and like an experience that was quite significant and quite interesting. And then I was like, okay, we're gonna find this pipe, but like I also kind of felt like I wanted to get down, and I felt like it's very unlikely. It's very unlikely that we're gonna find this wooden pipe in the middle of this jungle without any light, because it was just pure darkness. Um, After a while, I got the brilliant idea to still look again in my bag for my lighter, which I use sometimes for my barbacho pipe or for my changa. So I looked for my lighter again, and I found my lighter. I was like, "Wow, this is significant. We have light. We have light going down. At least like a little bit of light. Light is so significant. It's like if you don't have light and you're stuck on a mountain, you're fucked. Basically, you're in a pretty sketchy situation." That's my greatest lesson. It's like take light everywhere. It's like light is essential in the dark. Obvious realization, but sometimes on LSD, yeah, you get a bit um, too like bold, too unconsiderate, and irresponsible. So yeah, I don't know. I don't remember this whole situation, but it took like an hour or two to like be in conversation with Molly about this pipe situation and trying to find the pipe and recognizing and just keeping the calm as well of like, okay, we have all the time in the world. Worst case scenario is we just stay on this mountain, we just stay right where we are up this hill, and we just yeah, we're just going to be hungry, and we're going to be having just very little water, and we're going to have a very rough night, and then we'll descend in the morning. But basically that was not a good idea, because there might have been rain coming and thunder coming, and I had my valuable camera in my hands, and I was like, it was not an ideal situation. So maybe we try to get down. um, and the getting down, it was tough, just like when we were climbing down, we had to, without the lighter even, it was just like we were navigating by sound. So I was just like, Molly, Molly, because I couldn't see 1 meter in front of me. And then she was like, she was somewhere. She was kind of like leading the way, discovering the safe way, which was dangerous. A lot about was a learning about leadership. It was very interesting what leadership is. And adventures, great adventures are wonderful opportunities to learn about leadership for yourself, for your friends, for a group of people, maybe for a company and their team, like really practicing real life rawness and leadership skills of what leadership actually is. Um, yeah, so she was taking the lead, but then we had to stop because I had to pass the camera along, and then she had to hold the camera, and then I had to climb and basically come to her place, and slowly we were kind of like making our way down. But with this pipe situation, she lost her pipe, and it like played out for like an hour or two in this darkness of looking for the pipe and talking through. Should she let the pipe go for now and we come back later to search for the pipe with light, or should we search for the pipe now? And yeah, it was like this whole like situation. I don't clearly remember it, but it was very like, wow, it was a situation. It was a pretty serious situation. Because also it like the pipe was her most valuable thing that she has in her whole life. It's this pipe. And so I respected that. I was like, okay, let's look for this pipe. But time went on, and as time went on, and we're like sweating and struggling, and um, I don't know, like talking through, and a really interesting situation, a great lesson learning that we're learning over and over again, right? Is when you let something go, it will appear. The situation will resolve itself. So after lots of conversation, it was clear that we're gonna get the pipe. It was just a matter of if we're gonna find it now, or if we're gonna come back with light, or in the morning to look for it and then find it. But yeah, it was very difficult for her to let it go. And then after like hours and hours of conversing, remembering, right, in the peak of this LSD experience in the darkness on uncomfortable rocks, uh, she made the decision to kind of like, I was like, okay, let's, I don't know, it's difficult. I'll lead the way now. Let's get back up, maybe a little bit back up to try to find another way down. Let's get back up and eat some cashews. And then the moment she was saying yes to the cashews and letting her pipe go for now, in this exact moment that she was coming up to me again, and letting her the search for her pipe go for now, the pipe magically appeared in her field of perception right in front of her. And we were going down and up again, so it was very confusing. We didn't even know where the pipe was anymore. But the pipe was just like appearing right in front of her eyes. And we couldn't believe it. We could not believe it. Um, so, yeah, it was a great lesson, when you, first of all, this, like for me at least, it's this balancing point of letting go and holding on, to really hold on to the things that are very important to you. Don't try, like, don't really give it significance. Like, don't let go of them. I'm not letting go of my camera. That was clear to me. Like, I could have left the camera behind, and then it would have been easier to go down in the darkness. Um, and my camera would be broken. But such things like a pipe, or maybe also like a precious relationship, a friendship, a partner, whatever, like, there's some things that are pretty significant, and like to hold on to them, to not lose them, I think is a very wise decision. And then, but then the process of also knowing when to let go of things, knowing when to let go, and then forgive yourself for letting things go, and moving on, knowing when to let go and move on. So that was kind of like, and the leadership was very interesting in, like, yeah, directing, and like leading the situation, because she was in that situation, she was a great leader, and I was a great leader, and we both had like kind of like this inevitable communication going on of like, okay, like, are we gonna separate? Is she gonna go down and then get the light, and then I go down again, or are we gonna stay together? How are we gonna plan the descent? It's like all these things. Are we gonna look for the pipe and wait a little bit longer? Are we gonna stay? Like, yeah, which way are we gonna go down? How are we gonna go down? Very like tough situation. And then like the thrill and the adrenaline and the, like, the waviness and the intensity of the LSD experience, on top of being in this like sketchy, half dangerous situation of being on this rock without a path down in the darkness without a light, was pretty intense. It was pretty intense. But eventually she kind of somehow had candles, so we could, with my lighter, we could light the candles. Candles, not the best source of light to descend, also difficult to descend with a candle, because you gotta hold it in one hand, and if you're gonna climb down, it's difficult to climb down. But yeah, better than no light, I would say. So she found the candles, I found the lighter, and I think we just slowly made our way down. We just slowly made our way down that mountain, like step by step. And in Madagascar here, they have a saying which is now integrated into my being. It's called Mora Mora. Mora Mora. And this saying of Mora Mora, it means slowly. It also means kind of like take it easy, but also it means do everything very mindfully. Like be fully present in your movements, in each activity, in each moment. Be very mindful and present. So mora mora, slowly, and we had to embody that saying down that mountain. Because if we would have gone too fast at certain areas, we could have like just seriously injured ourselves. And that possibility, with the consideration in mind that we are alone on this uninhabited island for at least like 10 to 15 hours more, was pretty like intense and serious. If I don't know, she or me would have injured our ankle, fell down, broke our arm, whatever. Pretty like real possibilities. So yeah, but I think this like riskiness and this danger of the situation itself, this thrill, um, was so fulfilling. Like I was so filled up with adrenaline. I was sweating. I was purely focused on into the moment of like this exciting, thrilling experience. Absolutely, Kali, must have been a beautiful experience, though. Absolutely significant and beautiful. Like, yeah, a true adventure. A true adventure for me. I love these kinds of situations. Um, but Mora, slowly, we made our descent. We made our way down. Difficult path. Without light, guys, wow. Without light going down that mountain, it was tough. It was difficult. It took like a lot from my body as well. I was not in the greatest state of health with my body beforehand. I had a little bit of a headache, a little bit of like my nose was running. I had a hike a couple of days before that was pretty significant. I had like cuts, deep cuts in my feet already from my last adventure a couple of days earlier, where I was climbing this mountain barefoot, and that was not like pleasant on this like coral reef situation. But yeah, we made our way down, and it was pretty intense. So the joy, like guys, like the joy and the happiness and the like feeling of success and like release of tension when we were down, when we had like proper ground under our feet. It was so good. Like it was so good to have the feet on the ground, and be down, be like in a safe place. And then kind of like we just had to find our tent, which was also not the easiest task. It was a small island, but our tent was in the middle of the jungle somewhere. So finding the tent was something pretty pretty interesting. um, but yeah, we made it to the tent, and like the timing of certain things, like when we were down, our candles were almost gone, and my lighter, our only source of light, it was empty. Like I used all of my lighter's gas during that descent, which brought us down, which made us see like the path a little bit. And that lighter was emptied out when we were coming down. Basically, when we arrived at the tent where I had my other lighter, a flashlight. And then that flashlight, we used it to go to the beach. First of all, the jungle was very interesting as well. Like so many birds, so much wildlife, so much communication going on with the birds, like super intense experience, like such a noise going on. And the birds, they were shitting like on us and on the tent, because it's like they were like it was dark, and there were like there were millions of crabs like in all the like little shells. There were like hundreds and thousands of crabs, and sometimes you could feel them like like just like walking over your feet, and it was like oh it's just like the crabs and the birds and the bugs, and like you're like, and plants that are stinging you, like touch a plant and it's like it stings you and it really hurts. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, is this dangerous? And I don't know, were there any dangerous stuff like snakes or tarantulas? No, not that I know of, at least. It seems to be that Madagascar doesn't have that many poisonous snakes and spiders or animals or dangerous ones. I heard the only dangerous ones here are crocodiles, but maybe there's like undiscovered species of poisonous stuff, which is a real possibility because 90% of Madagascar's wildlife, plants and animals, are endemic, unique to Madagascar. So I'm sure there's like undiscovered stuff here. But as far as we know from our research and information, there's not much poisonous stuff walking around in Madagascar. Um, but I have seen snakes and spiders for sure. But on this on this adventure on this island, I did not see any snakes or spiders. Also, it was dark. So now it was dark. We were going to the ocean, to the coral reefs, and oh my god, like I don't know if you've seen some of my live trips. You can check them out. There's one coming up in the next few weeks about mushroom experience as well. But usually in my like trips, even if I'm not outside but inside, after like very challenging situations, and mostly it's like internal turmoil, emotional work and spiritual work and the peak of bliss and oneness and whatever. But like after peaks, basically, in most of my psychedelic journeys, I eat a mango or I eat some kind of fruit. Um, and that was happening here as well. So we're sitting down at the beach, infinite amount of like these sandflies, crazy like woo, crazy sandfly experience. Um, but yeah, that mango, it was hilarious. You know, it was so good. I completely bursted out into tears and laughter while eating this mango. It's like I became hungry when we were on top of this mountain, and then it took hours to get down, hours of this intense LSD experience as well. But when we made it down, like eating that mango, it was. I'm gonna eat a banana now. I'm getting hungry just talking about it. But it's like it was such a good mango, like unbelievable, unbelievable. And it's this insight, you know, of like our ability to savor and appreciate things, like this banana or like this mango that I ate on the beach. It seems to be that it's much more difficult for our mind. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it's much more difficult for our mind to fully appreciate and savor and love the profoundness and significance and like the juiciness and deliciousness of what we're eating, like this banana or this mango in this experience, when we have it always available. Like if you're in a 5-star hotel resort and there's like a buffet every time, every day, all day long, you have access to everything you want all the time. Like basically a very comfortable this situation to be in, right? Also, I notice it when I'm at home in my apartment. You know, it's like everything is there, everything is so comfortable. When I'm in this comfort zone, always having everything I want, even though it's pretty special, crazy stuff at times, like hazelnut rice milk or whatever. If I drink it every day, and my roommate, my best friend, is saying this as well, if we have this access to it every single day you're seeing a beautiful, like, I don't know, sunset, or every single day you're having this, like, your favorite meal, and it's always accessible, then our ability to appreciate it to the extent that it deserves decreases. And again, I'm not saying it's impossible, but when you're like going through an extended period of not having the thing you want, having like this pendulum, this balancing point, fasting before the LSD experience, then having a really tough time, and then getting hungry, and then still having like hours upon hours of descending down this dark mountain until I got access to the mango that I wanted 7 hours ago. Then, after this extended period of not having the thing I want, and like basically consciously or unconsciously putting it into the future, depriving myself of that thing that I want, when it then comes around, my ability to appreciate and love it and savor every single bite or moment of that thing of that comfort, of that experience of what I love is much more heightened. Um, so that's just an interesting observation. Like actually having the things you want all the time, yeah, is a trap. It's dangerous to see that. Yeah, you can really kind of like give it the appreciation that it deserves. Um, Another name is saying Lemuria is actually derived from the island landmass we now call Madagascar, named after an animal called a lemur, described as living on Madagascar. Yes, I have seen many lemurs here. Very beautiful creatures, and I think they're only living here. Um, Lemuria. What was Lemuria again? I don't remember it. Uh, I think yeah. I'm looking it up. Ah, interesting. Yeah, yeah. Lemurs are wonderful creatures. I love them. I've seen wild ones. Some are kind of like exploited for tourism here, but usually I really like them. I saw them wild on this other island called Nosicomba, and there's so many different species of lemurs here. And I don't think like because there's not many like dangerous animals here, they don't really have like enemies. So there's quite a population of lemurs here. Oh, I'm gonna. Oh, I think I'll have you guys. I'll leave you guys soon. There's gonna be a sunset happening here. Um, so yeah, lemurs are wonderful creatures. There were none on this island that we had the LSD experience on, but yeah, I've seen them wild here, and even like you can feed them. Some like people here have figured out how to call them like go 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 go, and then like lemurs come and then they know they're being fed bananas or something. Kali's saying, imagine if you had to wait seasons to individually reap the fruit by yourself. Yeah, right? Crazy. Like this, this process of what is actually going into, like for example, just eating this cashew. Cashews are pretty expensive, but there's a reason why they're expensive because the process of making them is so labor intensive. Like it takes time to get a cashew. It takes work. It takes human labor to just like have the end result of this cashew that we can just buy in batches and then stuff into our mouth. um, yeah, the guy from the Penguins of Madagascar. Another name is saying supposedly Lemuria was one of those pre-modern human advanced civilization that perished. Yeah, Atlantis, Lemuria, Moon. Yes. I remember now. um, Interesting, right? And even though, like here, for example, also in Madagascar, it's very interesting to look into the past because it seems like on Madagascar itself, there's not like an ancient tradition. There's no like pyramids, ancient structures, or like signs of ancient previous civilizations. It's very untouched, raw land. People here, they're believing in ancestors and in animalism. And there's like some kind of like pirate um, stuff going on with freedom, libertalia. Um, and but it seems like human beings have just arrived very recently on Madagascar, which is interesting because it must have been part of Africa like thousands upon millions of years ago, but it's separated a long time ago. And then basically, I think the first people came that were from Indonesia, Philippines, maybe from India a little bit, maybe from like southeast, a little bit of the Arabs and the Muslims, and then maybe a little bit of well, obviously the French at a bit of a later time, but also some people from Africa. So there's like a mix of all of these people, and this is now like Madagascar culture. Very unique people here, very interesting, very beautiful people, beautiful culture, different way of thinking, different way of being. But yeah, back to the story. We were sitting at the beach, was doing some rape, eating the mango, just enjoying life, and then it started to rain. Slowly we could see like the thunder coming. One thing that was interesting, like I wanted to wash my hands after eating the mango in the ocean, so I went out with my flashlight, and I like the ocean was, it was ebbing, right? There was no water anymore, and I walked out and I could see in the dark that the water was so far gone, like, and there were like these huge coral reefs around. People go snorkeling there all the time, and huge coral reefs, and I could see the structures of the coral reefs like right in front of me, and the ocean was so far, like the water was so far behind. All of this was covered in like in water, and then now there was like all these coral reefs basically exposed to me in this moment. That was pretty cool to see coral reefs um, without water. Yeah, and also that like kicked in the realization of like, okay, we're only going to be able to be picked up when there's like enough water, when there's a flood happening basically, and not the ebb and flow of the water. We're like, okay, pretty interesting. So hopefully the guys are going to pick us up at the right time. But they probably know, hopefully, when to come. Oh. And then we had to go to the tent because it was starting to rain. Usually it's rainy season here now. Starts I think in November, and but it's still pretty awesome weather. Like all day, every day is pretty sunny, and then usually the nights it's raining and there's thunderstorms coming. So we went back to the tent. My flashlight broke as well, which is interesting. Like this theme of having not having light during this experience was very interesting. But yeah, my flashlight broke, and we were back at the tent, and it was starting to rain. And the tent, I didn't check it before. I did bring my own, but it was my friend's tent that we kind of borrowed, and it was not fully like dry, I would say. Like there was rain coming through, there were puddles inside of the tent, and it was a pretty wet night. And I couldn't film much of this because it was like in the tent there was like 1,000,000% humidity, like so humid. It was so incredibly humid, you wouldn't believe it. Like I almost couldn't breathe, it was so humid. So I got a little bit worried about my camera, which is pretty expensive, about my phone, which was also in this tent, and just like, oh yeah, like being after this crazy adventure, being very still like peaking on LSD, pretty charged up, being in this humid tent, totally wet, was not totally uncomfortable, but it was uncomfortable. And then basically like the next 4 to 6 hours from like 10 or 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. in the morning, or 5 a.m., we were basically in this tent. Had some interesting and deep conversations, sharings, just like also very beautiful moments of going inside and like just reflecting on the peak, basically on what just happened on this journey downwards, the crazy like descent in the darkness during the peak of this experience. um, but yeah, just like feeling and being so wet, uh, yeah, so much of that part is it's part of the adventure, it's part of the journey. I could have been outside, but outside it was dark, it was raining, it was like birds were shitting everywhere, literally. Like the tent was covered in bird shit, birds were shitting everywhere, it's crabs everywhere, and it's like it was raw nature, it was a survival situation kind of like. And yeah, just like it was also very beautiful just to be in this uncomfortable situation and be like, okay, everything is wet, there's mosquito bites, I almost can't breathe, I'm worried about my stuff going like taking damage from the humidity. Because I just remembered of like, okay, people like actually have like problems with humidity and technology, like laptops break, cameras break when people go to the Amazon or whatever. um, so yeah, just like sitting in this uncomfortable feeling for 4 hours um, was interesting, but also very good. Now the name is asking, what was the perception of time comfort? Any visuals? Um, Perception of time was pretty much gone, especially like on the descent. Like I completely lost touch with time. And it's like always when you check time, it's like, oh, this was just 3 hours. Like we started at 5 or 6 ish, and then we came down that mountain at like 9 or 10, maybe 11. So like yeah, time was almost gone. Um, Comfort was okay. It's pretty radical, the experience, but that's like opening. That's a beautiful practice that this experience taught me. Opening up to the discomfort, just being present with also difficult emotions. That's practice of psychedelic space. If you're out in nature, or if you're inside in your own experience, usually it's like confronting and opening up to all kinds of sensations and experiences and emotions. May they be uncomfortable or may they be comfortable. I did not have many visuals in the beginning, like when I was coming up. Well, in the dark, I couldn't really see. Some stuff like was pretty wavy, and sometimes I felt like I was so charged up and like so like tensed up that I was losing consciousness, but I couldn't allow myself to. And afterwards, I was so exhausted. So not many visuals, but in the beginning, it was very beautiful. Like Madagascar, in and of itself, is very trippy. Like you see all kinds of patterns in the plants and the trees. There's like animals everywhere with patterns. There's shells, the coral reefs, the clouds. It's like everything is trippy in and of itself. Madagascar. It's pretty trippy. And then the LSD was kind of like highlighting that and made it all like shine in its appearance much more. Um, and the visuals, mostly I saw them in the beginning in the clouds. These like patterns emerging, clouds forming, certain kinds of patterns breathing in and out, and um, yeah. But on this like intense journey, the mountain down, and afterwards, I was too immersed in the experience to have to be focusing on very much on the different visuals. Um, And I think you're asking if there was a pretty serious situation or something. Um, I feel like no. Like I felt like it was in control all the time, but there were moments on this descent where it was just like intense. Molly didn't know what she was doing. She was like a little bit overwhelmed with the situation, but also keeping her calm. Pretty like we were both pretty calm overall, um, and like just having this trust and faith that we're gonna make it down this mountain. Like no matter what, we're gonna make it down. We're gonna make it down. We're gonna make it down. Also, we're gonna make it down in time and safely. um, so yeah, that was that. Um, do you ever feel like you broke your brain and it will never fix itself in these experiences? Mm, No. What I wanted to add is like I had two experiences which were not visual but pretty like intense. One was up that mountain, up that rock in the tree itself, high up. I was kind of like fully opening myself up and letting go. And also when I was in the tent in the humidity and I closed my eyes, and I was just like in this wetness and on the ground and just like feeling this uncomfortable feeling. In both these experiences where I was fully able to let go of my sense of self and thoughts, and tap into just like the beingness and the rawness of the experience, I felt my consciousness merging with the island. So I was I was dissolving the boundary of myself as a separate entity and the island, and then I could feel myself becoming the trees, becoming the rocks, becoming the birds, like all this life, the crabs and the birds and the sounds and the rain and everything, the bugs and everything, it was becoming one organism, one life form. And that was pretty fascinating to be part of this, to feel the island itself, this like tiny little sacred island, uninhabited from humans, but just pure rawness and nature, to feel one with it, to feel like the organism is one organism on this island with all its little like tiny macro microorganisms and ecosystems. And it's like each island, I feel like, is pretty unique in and of itself. I mean, each place on earth is pretty unique and of itself, but this one, it had a very unique experience. And then to be able to tap into this, into the beingness of the island, was a pretty cool experience, pretty significant. Not a name. You don't have to retract your messages. I can't read them like this. All good. Now I can't answer them. I think you were asking a lot more, but now I can't see them anymore. Um, oh, yeah, I feel exhausted. So yeah, morning was coming around. Taking a good swim in the morning. It was beautiful to wash away all that sweat. Um, what else? What else? What else? That was basically it. Yeah, I was so charged up from the LSD, I couldn't sleep throughout the night. I think I was sleeping. Oh, this. Okay, I have a little bit more time. I wanna see this sunset, and I think it's happening in like 10-20 minutes. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Not that I'm saying I deleted the old ones, and then in the last one I said, yeah, Madagascar's very unique form, shape, flora, fauna, genetics, signature. Yes, bro. Like I have the idea that I would love to like. I'm not too passionate about it, but I would love to. Like, I'm pretty sure there's potential for discovering undiscovered psychedelics, like psychedelic plants, animals, molecules, structures, whatever it is, because it's so unique here. Like, pretty sure you can like discover a new species of psychedelics and do some botany. Uh, and even also the climate is so perfect to cultivate like a botanical garden here, and maybe like cultivate a garden of psychedelic plants. Uh, this is so beautiful here, and like so flourishing and so nourishing and good with the rain and the sun, and everything is just like very very beautiful here. So yeah, basically that was the experience. Like yeah, yeah. There's still like a lot of conversation happening with my friend. We were talking about like just like like deep stuff that you talk about, like childhood trauma and values and I don't know, experiences and perceptions on reality. What is happiness? What is this? What is that? Um, what is holding us back? And all of these like wonderful conversations were happening um, throughout the night. And yeah, I hope the background noises are not too distracting. It's pretty like noisy here. And yeah, we took a swim in the morning, wrapped up everything, dried our stuff, packed the tent, and then we were hoping that the guys that dropped us off were picking us up again in the morning at 9. And they did. They did pick us up again, and it was wonderful. Like, yeah, we came back to the main island of Noisy Bee, and we were welcomed and that like the guys were part of like a little community of like a coconut shop with tattoo artists and massage and selling coconuts and doing like jewelry. This guy like gifted us beautiful stone and made a necklace out of it, very generous. But yeah, that was it. So overall, like I I don't know what the lessons are. Like, I'll have to sit with it and extract the lessons of this experience. But one lesson is always take your light everywhere. Don't get overly bold in your psychedelic experiences. Um, like, don't get cocky. Don't get cocky in your psychedelic experiences, especially with these adventures. With because you can like find yourself in pretty sketchy situations. I've had friends, and I've been with friends who also got lost in the mountains during psychedelic experiences, and there's just like a real potentiality of injuring yourself and pretty much having like a tough time, or getting lost or whatever. Pretty easy to lose orientation in higher doses of psychedelics. So don't get too cocky. Just take responsibility for your situation. Bring enough water. Leadership. A lot about the nature of leadership was revealed, and the power of adventure. So I might actually organize. This place called Shambhala, Madagascar. A friend of mine is running it, and I might organize future retreats with the community. There's going to be a psychedelic actualization community coming soon and opening up, and maybe with the inner circle or with my coaching clients. If you're curious about working with me, there's a link in the video description as well. You can book a free one-on-one call with my coaching clients or whatever. I would maybe come out here, organize a retreat, and we might have like crazy experiences like these together to learn like group dynamics and leadership, and maybe include psychedelics somehow. But adventures in and of itself are very psychedelic experiences. They're mind expanding experiences. They open you up to new sensations of freedom, of danger, of curiosity. They're exposing you to the rawness of nature, and nature is the greatest teacher. So that might be in the pipelines. Thinking about this. So it was beautiful for me just to have one of these experiences here in Madagascar, because I was sick for such a long time, and I couldn't fully like do it. Um, but yeah, I would say overall, oh my god, these ants are eating everything. Fuck. The ants are eating the cashews. Um, yeah, I'm getting too distracted by all these sounds. Sorry. Another name is saying, have you gone to Guatemala Lake Atilan or Dharmashala, India? I haven't heard of Dharm Dharamshala. I'm gonna write this down. I love these little hippie villages for sure. I haven't been to Lake Atitlan. I've heard of it. Many friends have been there. Hippie tribe villages. If you have any more recommendations, I would love to know. Put them in the chat right here, right now, because I'm looking to move out probably next year from Germany into one of these villages. One of these villages have been some of my most beautiful experiences. That's what I'm missing here in Madagascar. It's actually there's not many like hippie tribe villages, because it's very unknown. It's very untouched. There's not much tourism here, and if there's tourism, it's like these old French people usually who are going on vacation or whatever, or people who are like doing missionary work or whatever. But not many hippies have found Madagascar a place to be. So there's very little of these like communities of kirtan and mantra music and psychedelic ceremony. Very, 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 very little here. The ones I've been to and really enjoyed were, I think Portugal was pretty cool. Algesur. I also really enjoyed Mazunte in Oaxaca, Mexico. That was a friend of mine is living there, and that was one of my favorite ones. And also Vale do Capão, Vale do Capão in Brazil, in Bahia, Brazil. Vale do Capão was a nice mountain village, hippie tribe village in Mazunte. Those have been the two I've been to, which I really enjoyed. I know there's a couple more in Thailand. And Lake Atitlan is. I was very close to it when I was traveling in Mexico, and but I decided not to go. But actually, like it's on my list for sure. Um, yeah, yeah, and also I am thinking about. I'm gonna write this down just for myself as a note. I'm also thinking about. Wait, I'm going. Yeah, maybe I want to go to Pisac in the Sacred Valley, Peru. I've heard there's a flourishing psychedelic community in Pisac. I might go there and move there next year, but I'm not entirely sure yet. Otherwise, what else was on my list? I think Hawaii seems also to be pretty cool. Um, I can't find my list at the moment. It's very hidden. Yeah, whatever. Um, yeah. So I love these magical places, and I guess Madagascar has the potential to be one of those places. Or like, yeah, if more people would be coming, there's a potential to create such a community here. But also, it would change the vibe because there is a pretty nice vibe here in the culture itself. Just like getting to know the culture that is present here. It's a very unique culture. Okay. I'm gonna go and see the sunset. Thank you all for being here and for spending some time and looking what's going on. I'm still unsure. Like my feet and my arm or my like legs is still hurting a little bit. I'm not sure if it was from the stingy plant that I touched during this LSD experience or if it's sunburned or whatever is happening. Dharamshala is where the Dalai Lama lives, an amazing capital of all magical backpackers. Beautiful, where the Tibetan Buddhism meets all of us regular seekers in an infrastructure for poor hippies at a super high loving level. Wonderful. It sounds awesome. I'm gonna check this out. India is on the list to go to for sure. I think I've heard of this place for sure. The Rishikesh is another one. Many friends are traveling to all the time, or just Nepal also seems to be a pretty nice one. Not too many communities, but more like nature. Um, yeah, yeah. I think that was all that I wanted to share regarding this experience. It was pretty draining on the body for sure. Like now, I immediately fell asleep yesterday. Like when I came back, and now I'm fully exhausted. My throat is hurting. My nose is running. My body is in pain. Like I am very much in pain, and yeah, the cuts in my feet are so deep, and yeah, now there's a process of recovery happening, which is wonderful. Um, but I just wanted to hop on and share this experience with you, and yeah, just I think my just reflecting on this live stream, it feels like my energy was not fully on point, and the sharing of this experience could have been more energized, but it is what it is now. And yeah, thanks for popping in. Now I think I missed the sunset, or maybe I'm gonna catch the last little bit. Oh my god! And yeah, what else? I don't know. I don't know. My mind is very empty. Like I feel very satisfied. Like such a unique experience, such a unique opportunity. Thank you, life, for this opportunity, this experience. More crazy experiences to come for sure. I love being in these sketchy, dangerous situations. I love being in nature. I love tripping in nature. I love communicating with nature. And that's it. Kodevasya rimahe yoyona prachodaya Om Bhurvubah Swaha Savitur Varenyam Purivasya dhimahi dhiyo yona prachodayat. Bhurvubhuva swaha tatsavituvarenyam. Purivasya dhimahi dhiyo yona prachodayat. Om Shanti 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 Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. May all the beings in all the worlds be happy and free. I'm gonna enjoy this beautiful, unique sunset right here and try to appreciate it to the best of my ability. Thank you all. I love you all. See you in the next one. Stay tuned for this live trip. I captured this adventure. You guys were asking for a vlog, and here it is. It's happening. And yeah, see you guys soon. Bye bye. Love you.